In this weekly workout, we're going to continue working through the bowl of the pelvis, this time dissolving the anus, the genitals, and the perineum. This is part of the process that will help us clear out the torso and the upper body, and in future workouts, begin to connect to the energy of the legs, and eventually deeper in to the root down below the feet. So for now, just settle in, as always, working from the ground up, finding the weight centered in your feet, a little sit in the quad, relaxing the knees and the ankles, letting the weight land in the legs and just sort of settling. Over time, you also want to settle into the bones of the pelvis, the sacrum, where the spine comes into the pelvis and legs. Because those sacroiliac joints, the joints between the sacrum and the pelvis, structurally bear a lot of weight and distribute a lot of force through the body. So almost having the feeling of sitting backwards, sitting down and back into a chair, instead feeling where the weight lands in the hips, in the muscles, wherever it is, try to let the weight almost go into the back of the pelvis, spreading the joints of the pelvis as you settle in. This is a little bit easier to feel in motion if you're doing squatting movements, but here it's sort of a feeling for where the weight is being cradled and held and how it's falling through your skeletal structure. I'm trying to tune into that just a little bit. It's the same way that if you were sitting in a chair and you just really let your weight sink into the chair, you would feel that versus holding it in your lower back or lifting from the shoulders and tensing from the shoulders or anything else like that. To really utilize the natural structure of the pelvis to support your body. And if that's a very light and very heavy feeling, that's sinking and settling into the pelvis, try now to contrast that to a gentle, lifting, rising feeling without giving up the sinking and the heaviness, up through the spine and up to the crown of the head. Now settling, feeling the crown of the head. Just begin to dissolve, coming down. So first the crown. And then through the height of the brain, the third eye, the eyes, and the ears. For a number of reasons, you want to try to be as light as possible with your awareness, sort of the way the mind is touching the body. It's going to help you activate the chi and start to kick off the dissolving process. And it also conserves your focus for lower down when you want to dissolve through the pelvis today. Notice when you get to the eyes, how you can go from the outsides, the surface, back in towards the cavity where the eye sits, the eye socket. This sense of dissolving inward through layers of an orifice is exactly what we'll use for the anus and the genitals when we get to the pelvis. And it's another example of our sort of outside-in process. Now coming down through the neck and the shoulders. Feeling through the whole area. Everything you can feel at each height. But also paying attention to the gates we've worked on before, like the throat notch, or the roof of the mouth, or the shoulder's nest. And just paying attention to those to see if they feel different, see if they can activate in a way that's going to help you release the rest of that area. And for deeper cavities like the armpits, see if you can distinguish between the tissues in that area and the energy of the area. So the gate versus everything you'll feel sort of softening and absorbing in. Again, that's going to be important as we complete the dissolving through the pelvis. There are deeper structures inside the body. So distinguishing between the energetics and the physical tissues is going to be useful. And so now coming down through the rib cage, down through the arms, until you get to the diaphragm, the solar plexus, and the base of the ribs. And again, as you come into the belly, into the lower spine, see if you can distinguish between these deep structures of the organs, the density of them, versus the energy of them. So it's like surrounding the density of this area. Can you feel that, encompass that density with your mind, with your awareness, with your feeling? And then just lightly come off the sort of dense feel and see what it's like for your mind to contain that area and let it get quiet. And that's how the energy will begin to release from these deeper areas. So try it for the whole belly now. Now inside that, feeling for the lower dantian. Sort of as the densest part, or the anchor point to the whole belly. It's in the center, but sort of the bottom third, center depth-wise, and in from the sides, but more towards the bottom. Let's just stabilize there for a minute. Over time with the lower dantian, when you return to it as part of your practice, you're hoping to shift the location of your awareness, sort of the source of your awareness, the seat of your awareness, from wherever you normally experience it in your mind to the dantian. We talk about seeing from the lower dantian. And just the familiarity of feeling it will eventually kick off this kind of shift. And as that becomes more stable now, feeling the whole bowl of the pelvis again, front, back, and sides. Just like we started with the sense of the weight falling through the joints of the pelvis. Now, as we begin to work on the anus, the genitals, and the perineum, the basic idea is to work from the outside in, just a little at a time, feeling, but also dissolving in layers. So if you start from the anus, we're not going to go very far inward, just an inch or two. But just feeling from the outside. Try to get your mind to come to rest there and contain and hold your awareness just like we do everywhere else in the body. And layer by layer, feeling inward. And just in the same way we always work on, if you're feeling and you have to use force or contraction to try to feel, just dial back your awareness. Soften the mind. And feel the layer beyond the physical body. And then as you begin to feel the genitals, for men you'll dissolve from the tip of the penis inward and up from the testicles into the body. And women, as you dissolve into the vagina, You go layer by layer from the outside in the same way, stopping without dissolving the cervix. So just take your time, feel into the area. And try to pace yourself layer by layer so that you're not racing ahead to try to visualize, imagine, or create sensations that aren't a product of your direct feeling awareness. Now from the bottom of the pelvis, halfway between the anus and the genitals on the perineum, there's a gate that lines up with the gate at the crown of the head. And feeling for this gate at the bottom of the pelvis is very similar to trying to feel for the crown of the head. So now from the outside, from below the pelvis, see if you can find the gate and differentiate it from the muscles, the other tissue. Just see if you can feel the energetic coherence of the gate itself. And if you can, see if you can bring the gate at the bottom of the pelvis and the crown of the head into alignment. And if you line them up just like you would connect the palms to feel the energy between the hands, you can often get a really nice connection and a really nice still point for all the energy of the whole torso when you bring these 2 points into alignment. And now, keeping some sense for that alignment, start to let the mind soak into the thighs, the legs, and return to that sense of balance over the feet and thread it down through the joints of the legs. Sinking down through the thighs, through the joints of the knees, and just feeling as you go how the weight's aligning through the feet the whole rest of the way down, making micro adjustments through the ankles, softening the feet. And often if you're feeling the weight get stuck in the feet at this stage, instead of trying to force your way down and break through the soles of the feet, just try to let your mind spread as much as possible outward from the sides of the feet. It'll help you soften the connection into the floor, open things out. And just one more time from the crown of the head on down. Try to find a nice, easy feeling of everything dropping through the structure of the body, relaxing through the joints, maybe even balancing around the internal alignments we've been developing, and ultimately letting go through the body, energetically, and with the mind.